Inflation is out of control. It has made prices go up, causing everyone to be strapped for cash. I mean, Dirty Mike and the boys won't even pay $1.99 anymore for me to guzzle their glizzies and swallow the sauce. But no sector has been hit harder on RimWorld than housing. Looks like nobody can afford to pay their rent.
Rent, it's too damn high.
So 3 former roommates have decided to be homeless and live as nomads, by choice, and definitely not because they were evicted by their hard-working landlord. Meet our new hobos. First is Scoopa Doopa. He, like me, is good with his hands. Unlike me, where I am good at using my hands to tend to clients at the local park's bathroom's hole in the stall, Scoopa is good at building things. Next up is Kind House. He is, as you would say, obsessed with killing animals, like he is waging a personal war against the wildlife of RimWorld. I guess it will come in handy, as we will have to hunt and gather our own food like our ancestors before us. And finally, Jane. She's kind of normal. There's not much to say about her, but she has a dog named Spitfire, who didn't make it as a nomad long before being eaten by a bear, and not the kind I'm looking for on Grindr. It's a tough world out here, so our first order of business is to find a steady, reliable source of food, which House, as I mentioned, is proactive about. With each kill he scores, we chop up the animals and prepare their meat. Then combine it with some berries that we hope aren't poisonous to make poop-shaped food called pemmican. Now, it doesn't look that appetizing, but I assure you our colonists love it. And they better, as pemmican lasts long without spoiling, and it is great for travel. Speaking of travel, I think it's best if we move on from this map, as it doesn't have what we are looking for. And what is that, you ask? Well, as a homeless gaggle such as ourselves, when we traverse the map, we have to carry around more shit than a colostomy bag. We can't do it alone, as our backpacks don't have much room left, as we need space for our Shrek lights. The only alternative I can think of is pack animals, and I have set my mind on one animal in particular, the muffalo. Muffalo are big and strong like my ideal woman, so they are perfect for carrying our stuff. The only problem is that none spawned on our current map. So we pack up our camp and head out searching map after map, carefully perusing the local wildlife until we find a new home that contains our sought-after muffalos. While House and Scoopa set up a new camp, Jane can focus on taming these beasts. But hear me out, instead of muffalo, we could tame alpacas. According to their description, these majestic creatures carried cargo across the rugged mountains of South America. Compare that to the description of the muffalo, which says they're blue. I don't know about you, but they look pretty white to me. I don't want to get accused of racism for choosing the white animals, so we're gonna go with the alpacas. Haters would say, why don't you get both? My response is, I would. But a pack of camels self-tamed, and now our pen is getting more crowded than an Instagram model's DMs. So how about instead, we hunt the muffalo to the brink of extinction, just like the bison of America. Enough time has passed since we began the taming process that our temporary camp is complete. Let me give you a tour. We have our storage and production room, the campsite with tents for our hobos. Sorry, that was offensive. They are nomads. Circling our encampment, we have our outer defensive wall to keep the landlords at bay. And over here, we have the animal pen, and finally, our rock collection, which serves no purpose, as we can't sell rocks to trade caravans that show up, but we can sell the excess leather from House's genocide of nature, thus building up our cash supplies like we use the Chase Bank money glitch. And we can spend this money on things we need, like slaves. No, I'm just kidding. I would never purchase people, especially enslaved children, like this guy is selling. Oh man, look at those prices! Such great deals! No, I have morals now. But I managed to resist the temptation of child labor, unlike the coal mines of old, until I was distracted by another vagrant of the RimWorld, who showed up outside our camp asking if we could spare some medicine for his injured friend. We do have plenty of herbal meds to spare, but like doing missionary for the 1,000th time in a row, your partner is gonna suggest something else. So instead, we elect not to give him the medicine and throw the vagrant Kitch into a small windowless room. You see, I like Kitch's mining stats, so we begin a little bit of a recruitment campaign to convince him to stop being a rentoid. But don't worry, buddy, I'll make sure to feed you. Lots of poop meals. Ooh, yeah, eat every bite of it like the dirty slut you are. Apologies, I got a bit too excited there. You know who wasn't excited? Kitch. Seems a little later he refused to eat the poo and collapsed from starvation. Actually, I lied. Sorry. What really happened is that I forgot to assign one of my colonists a higher priority for wardening, so we just forgot to feed him. After rescuing him, we made sure he got all the nice, warm, moist pemmican his little stomach could hold. But it was a good thing that we had this crisis, as it led me to discover something personal about our prisoner. It wasn't something insane like, say, he has a collection of anime figurines in jars filled to the brim with an unknown liquid, like I do. No, it's the fact that he's a crackhead. Due to his nature of being a hussar, his body is completely dependent on go juice. If he doesn't take any within 60 days, he's gonna die. It's too much work to care for the needy, and like my grandma, we pulled the plug. Luckily for me, a replacement recruit fell from space with similar desirable mining stats. As for Kitch, at the crack of dawn, we bury him. I would say it was sad, but nobody really cared. In fact, they don't even remember his name, just that someone was executed. So may you rest in peace, Kyle. We were struck with a bit of a surprise, as apparently mechanoids on the map are leaving. I didn't even know they were here. It looks like the dangerous robots are within the walls of this mountain. So just to be safe, in case they get out, we're gonna pack up what we can and plan to travel to a new home. We gathered our base supplies and loaded them onto our alpacas. Curiously, our prisoner was just vibing in the caravan formation area. Looks like he's cool with us leaving. So that is exactly what we do, leaving our old temporary home behind. And just as we leave, a pack of lusty squirrels show up to get their nut. But these dumbasses aren't aware that nobody's home, and we are already journeying to our new destination. This actually might not have been the best time to set up a new home, as winter has come, like me 10 seconds in. We get to work setting up a makeshift prison for our guest, and then our comfy tents for the main characters. Yet we also need to quickly build an animal enclosure, as the alpacas will run off the first chance they get, like a toddler into a gorilla exhibit. And once it is built, Jane can escort the animals into the pen, but it looks like a tight fit, unlike my peanut. With that out of the way, we begin working on our storage/production room. When it is, good enough, we have to turn our attention back to the alpacas, as they're a little bit hungry. We expand their domain and unleash a flood of animals like misogynistic comments when a girl talks in Valorant. Actually, we're running low on food ourselves, even though House is working overtime. It's just that we lack the berries to make the poop food we crave. However, we need to make sure House can keep going, as if he stops his crusade, we will die of starvation. So when a morally upstanding trade caravan arrives, we buy 390 rounds of ammunition for only $51. That way, House can keep on doing what he loves. And when the berries are picked by the other two, we satisfy our cravings. You know, so much time has passed that winter's actually almost over. I thought winter was gonna be like eating your aunt's casserole that for whatever reason she put raisins in. But we made it out pretty well, with some minor losses. I mean, we have a pretty nice place here. We have a newly constructed freezer next to our storage/production room, a guest house next to our camp, and quite a spacious animal pen. Oh, and a rock collection bigger than before. Man, life's good, ain't it? I'm sorry, but we hate it here, and our colonists yearn for normal housing. But we don't have the money to afford rent, and even if we did, the rent on this planet is insanely overpriced. Luckily, we do kind of have an out. A while ago, we received a quest that points us to a working ship so we can escape and go to a planet with lower rent. There is a catch. The ship is at the far end of the planet, and we are all the way over here. That journey is going to be longer than my romantic relationships, and when we get there, we're not ready for a fight. As when you start a ship in RimWorld, you will have to defend it for 15 days, and looking at the equipment my people are rocking, we don't really stand a chance, even with the slight buff we received from a self-tamed puppy dog. Caravans and settlements sell better weapons, but look how much they are. Even my feet-obsessed sugar daddy doesn't pay that much for a rub. So we need a better way to make money, as our current method of selling leather obtained from House's unquenchable thirst for animal blood isn't gonna cut it. But I have an idea. We recently recruited, Tyrogite? And after having his first poop meal as a newly free homeless man, he hits the mines, putting his advanced skills to use, digging up some steel. We can then use this steel to have Scoopa whip up some chairs for us to sell. If it worked for Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street, it will work for me. At least, I think that movie was about selling chairs. I could be wrong though. These chairs are valuable, and some are even masterworks. When we finish building all of them, we can combine their value with the value of our excess leather, and I think we have enough to trade for some good guns. Now, you might be wondering why I don't just craft some guns. Well, we only have progressed our tech up to the first gunsmithing perk, and that was solely to make bullets for House to have some fun. Circling back to answer your question though, it's because, well, I don't want to. I'm just RPing, bro. Get off my tiny dick. So now with our chairs and our food storage full, a planet-wide journey seems plausible. We need to plan our trip carefully, as it is going to take us roughly 20 days to reach our ticket off this planet, making sure that we hit up settlements on our way to sell chairs. But with the travel plan solidified, we pack up our camp one last time, leaving behind a gutted base and our beloved rock collection. We set out, arriving quickly at the first outpost, where we initiated trade, selling our chairs in exchange for 2 new weapons that our colonists were eager to equip. Just give me 1 second though, as I have to search through 10 billion animal inventories to find the guns. Though they were eager to try the guns, they weren't eager for our journey ahead, as it's going to be long and hard, 2 words that have never been used to describe me. We traversed several biomes, stopping at towns along the way to sell our goods, and we were now collecting guns like Diddy collects baby oil. Surprisingly, our chairs were actually a hit, helping us accumulate over 4K in silver, which attracted some unwanted attention. But unfortunately for the raiders, we were like kids on Christmas morning, eager to try out our new toys. I mean, from this point, it might seem like our trip was going to be easy, but I didn't account for something big. And that something was winter. I overestimated it before, but this time I got violated worse than a tomato in Gondor. Most of my alpacas were catching hypothermia when... oh, fuck me. They all died, leaving my caravan overloaded with supplies. I have to ditch as much as I can to get us moving again, but this time on an altered course, as we are now heading south towards the forest, as it has a higher average temperature than the last biome I was in, which was a tundra. Yeah, that would explain the hypothermia. In the future, we need to be mindful of the temperatures, so we are moving east now towards the warmer desert. And with a lot of determination, we reach it. I'm honestly surprised these guys had the energy to travel this long. I wonder what their secret is. Wait, what is House holding? Is that a waifu cup from GamerSupps? Their secret is GamerSupps' delicious energy supplements. But planet-wide journeys isn't the only thing it can give you the energy to do. Take me for example. After a low-stress session of RimWorld, I immediately sprint to the nearest forest to fistfight as many raccoons as I possibly can before I'm overwhelmed. Before gulping down some raw meat, I could only fend off 3, but after that meat hits the back of my throat, I can fend off entire battalions of raccoons. So if you want the energy and power to fight off the beasts in the woodlands near you, check out GamerSupps today, and don't forget to use my code KibblesJack for 10% off. And if you don't, I will sick the raccoons on you. We only have 3 days of travel time to the next settlement, and 12 days of travel until we reach the ship. But luckily for us, winter was like my booty calls. It came and left. So we scurry on over to our last stop before the ship, but I kinda spent all our money already, so we didn't really buy anything. We spent the final days of our journey crossing the mountain range that lies in our path before finally reaching our salvation, the ship that will carry us off-world. Yet, we deserve a rest after this long journey. And our pack animals deserve a permanent rest, as we are now in a desert and nothing much grows here. So I make the executive decision for House to spray them down like me and a bukkake. That was a bit sad, but good news is we have a new rock collection, but it once again isn't gonna help us much as we need wood to build defenses, and I don't know about you, but I don't see many trees. Lack of trees is going to be a problem, so we assign Jane to research tree sowing, and when she is finished, we begin planting cacti. Yup, cacti give you wood in this game. We planted a large zone of cacti, and when they are ready, we give them a snip snip, like my Cirque doctor. But the wood yield was like how my parents see me, a disappointment. Shit, man, we can barely build a wall with what we've harvested. I think we're gonna need to supplement the wood with something else. But what could that other thing be? Alright, okay, I'll use my precious rocks. Jane gathers the chunks and proceeds to turn them into stone bricks that we can place along our border. We get our wall bricked up like I am when the octopus guy shows up and spirited away. And you know what? I think it turned out well. All it needs now is some turrets that we researched earlier, and Jesus Christ, those are super pixelated. If I zoom out a bit, they don't look as bad, but like, yikes. Anyway, we circle our base with these new defense turrets, so when a raid shows up, they can help out. But let's be real, we all know who's going to be doing the heavy lifting and fights. The only flaw of the turrets is that they take wood to run, and you know we're struggling in that department. But nevertheless, I think our team is ready for the fight ahead as we start the ship and begin the 15-day siege of our base. And when it is over, our people can abandon the homeless tent life and finally regain their status as rent slaves. The first raiders appear, and we prep our defenses, though they are swiftly handled with overwhelming firepower. The arrow turrets did well in that raid, but I feel like something is missing. Something poo-based. Luckily for me, we researched manure IEDs, which weaponizes our beloved pemmican. But I don't want to place these traps randomly, so instead I plan out a funnel system to skillfully move the raiders over the bombs. And we want these funnels at the top and bottom of the base, so our enemies can take me from both sides. We don't have time to fully prepare the walls before the largest raid we have yet seen appears with 10 days remaining. Our colonists engage, but we are down a few people, as they are running back to the base. The weakened team deals with the threat, earning some dropped poo food as a reward. Yet we don't have time to devour it as a second raid appears on the same day. I have to admit, I got a little excited when I saw 3 groups of the beefy, handsome raiders surrounding me. But it didn't end in the hot, sweaty fantasy I wanted, as Jane was forced to her knees like I was hoping to be, and Tyro had to rescue her under some pretty heavy fire. Luckily, he rescued her and rejoined the fight. Unluckily, Jane was in pretty rough shape, and we had to fight without her the next day. And then fight without her forever, as she got an infection and we didn't have any Flintstone gummies to beef up her immune system, so it ultimately led to her demise. As I stare at her empty tent in sorrow, I realize more than ever, we really need to finish this fucking poo defense maze. That is what we focus on in between the raids, that unfortunately resulted in House being injured. With only 5 days remaining and our best fighter out of commission, the 2 remaining hobos have to defend against new mechanoid attackers with fucking lasers. Lasers so strong, Tyro was disintegrated. I don't know how much more we can take. I want to finish this wall, but that no longer seems possible, as both Scupa and House are now wandering in a daze. This might have something to do with the lack of fun they are having, but who knows for sure. I am praying we aren't attacked while they are like this, as our turrets will be alone in defending the base. Ah, fuck me. The turrets do their best, but the attackers breach the perimeter. I thought this might be my end, but the turrets clutch up, and immediately after, both House and Scupa return to normal. I am abandoning my old defense project, and instead, I am building a funnel in the breach, setting up my poo traps in there. 2 days and 2 survivors left. If we can't complete the ship's charge now, to afford rent, I will have to get my old job back at Domino's Pizza. Well, I worked behind a Domino's, and instead of giving customers a 12-inch pizza, I received 12 inches of something else. But we are now being put to the test, as we have to defend against a new wave of enemies. I'm hoping my new traps work. But in a twist, another wave shows up, and the 2 groups actually start fighting each other, which was a relief for me. But I want to see some poo action. Thank you! We have reached our final day. We rearmed the traps in anticipation for another fight, but it never came. As we count down the final hours of the reactor's charge, we gather by the ship, ready to find a new home. But House tells Scupa he's staying, as he is having too much fun exterminating the wildlife, and there are still so many left to kill. He goes his separate way, giddily walking off into the wilderness, leaving Scupa to enter his cryopod as the last remaining homeless person. And he launches the ship, leaving this planet for a new home, hopefully with lower rent. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video or are a really cool person, you should check out my last video where I explored the wonders of space-age capitalism, exploiting workers and exterminating wildlife to make some money.